and the fact that people don't want to say that this is what they do. I have a friend who doesn't tell her boss that she's caring for her mom because it's fear. So we have to try to get past that fear. But these are real issues because this is your job. Like if you don't have your job, what's going to happen? So I understand it. It has to come from the employer. The change needs to come from the top, not from the bottom.
Did you know that in 2020, there were 53 million caregivers in the United States? And by 2025, this number is expected to grow to 62.5 million. 73% of these caregivers also have a job. They are called working caregivers, and they are invisible because they don't talk about their caregiving challenges. Working Caregivers, the Invisible Employees, is a podcast that will show you how to support working caregivers. Join Selma Archer and Zack Demopoulos on the Working Caregivers, the Invisible Employees podcast as they show you how to support working caregivers.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Working Caregivers, the Invisible Employees podcast. So glad that you're joining us, and we thank you for that. My name is Zack Demopoulos.
And I'm Selma Archer.
What is up, Selma?
Oh, the heat. The heat is up. It's about 3,000 degrees here. Unfortunately.
You're not getting any pity from me. In New Jersey, we hit close to 100 the other day, and we're hot too. We get it. It's hot.
We died for close to 100.
Really?
We passed that a long time ago.
For those of you out there, well, someone's on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast. We always love to compare our weather, so just to see what's happening. And I'm glad I'm on the East, and she's glad she's on the West. So welcome, everybody. And speaking of somebody on the East Coast, we do have a guest here I can't wait to bring on, Rosanne Corcoran. How are you, Rosanne? Welcome.
I'm great, Zack. Thank you. It's great to be here with both of you. I'm with you, Selma. 3,000 degrees, absolutely, every day.
Now, wait a minute, Rosanne. You get a little bit of beach breeze now. We like to always kind of open up the show here with maybe something a little personal, trivial that, could you share with us? What's it like to be out on the beach? Maybe something we don't know or something we do know, wish we knew, or I don't know.
The weather around the beach, it's one of those things where if you don't like the weather, wait 20 minutes and it'll get better because of the air from the ocean. So it's lovely. I'm a fan of thunderstorms. I love when it pours. So I'm happy when that happens, but it's just nice to be able to go to the beach and sit and look at the water. I mean, it's the great equalizer of everything, I think.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think water is relaxing, right? It's got its thing to it. Well, thank you for sharing that. I will send you one of my dogs because my other dog hates thunderstorms, but the other one goes out and runs around and thinks, I think she's just half weather woman, I think, as my second dog. All right, well, let's get started. We got so much ground to cover, and I've been wanting to meet Rosanne since I started doing research in this business, and she has been doing some amazing work with Daughterhood, and we're going to hear about that in just a little bit. But first of all, Rosanne, tell us a little bit about your caregiver journey.
I cared for my mother through her 12-year journey with vascular dementia. Now, my mom was the second youngest of 12 children in her family. I am the youngest of my family, and my mother had me when she was 40. So when I was born into this big Italian family, and I was privy to aging and everything that came with aging. So by the time it was apparent that my mother was having issues, I had been prepared for that. I knew it was going to be something, right? Because I had seen it all. And her memory started changing. She had said she thought her memory was changing. And I took that as like, thank goodness, I don't have to bring it up. I don't have to worry about, hey, Mom, maybe we should talk to somebody. And as we know with dementia, one of those little things is anosognosia, which is they forget they have an issue. It kind of plays with your mind. And so we went to her doctor, and her doctor blew her off because my mother always looked 20 years younger than she was. And she was so vibrant and so personable. And none of her doctors wanted to say, yeah, Rose, something's changing with you. None of them did. So it was a constant struggle trying to get a diagnosis. I never got an official diagnosis from any of her doctors. And my siblings, they didn't want to look at it. They didn't want to see that things were changing, and which I understand, and which happens I mean, how many times do we hear that, right? You don't want to acknowledge what you're seeing. And so it was tough. It was really tough. So for the first 6 years of her dementia, I would run back and forth. So I had children at home. I was working. I had a husband that traveled, and I would run back and forth every day to stay with her, to check on things. And then when I came home, I'd call her another 4 times. I was labeling her remote controls, and I was counting her pills and all of that. And she had a vasovagal condition where if she got hot, she would pass out. And this one time she passed out, and I went down and I scooped her up and I brought her to my house, and I never brought her home.
Oh,
and,
my goodness.
That's hard. That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And to deal with. And then she lived with us for the next 6 years until her death. Yeah.
So just a couple of follow-up questions. So you were a sandwich generation person.
Yes, indeed.
Caring for children, caring for your mom, working. A, how did you do that? And B, what advice would you give to somebody who's just getting started in the sandwich generation?
Pick yourself, because you matter, because you are just as important as the person you're caring for, because you have to keep yourself going and fed and watered and, checked on. I was a realtor, so it kind of worked in my favor that I didn't have to go to an office every day. If I had to go to an office every day, I don't know what I would have done. I honestly don't. I probably would have quit my job. And I did wind up putting my license in escrow, because when we moved my mom in, 98% of my business happened at night. Well, if you're caring for someone with dementia, nights aren't the thing that you want to play with. So it was 20 years. I was a realtor for 20 years, and I put it in. And I think, it's very hard for for working caregivers to talk to their employer about what they're doing. And that. You've heard this all the time. The fear of not getting your whatever from your boss, whether it's an assignment, whether it's a job, whether it's a promotion, whether it's anything, you keep it to yourself because you don't want them to think that you can't do your job. Well, you're caring, but we don't think about that when it comes to parents, but we think about that about adult children caring for their parents.
Yeah.
So it's a very strange thing. It's something that so needs to be changed. And there has to be a safer place to land, and it has to be safe for employees to be able to care for whoever they're caring for and still have the support from their work.
But even raising children and having your mom now living in the house, that's got to have a significant impact on your lives. Again, is there something that you would do different if you go back to the younger Rosanne? Or I'm just looking for that gem. Don't you have a gem? I know we're all different. But
listen, it is what works for you. And for me, before we moved my mom in, when I had taken her to my house and we sat at my kitchen table and I said to my kids and my husband, like, is this what we're going to do? Like, is this, because this is going to change. It's going to change everything. My oldest was a senior in high school. My youngest was in 8th grade. Wow. Again, husband's still traveling. And my girls, they were always involved with my mother because even before she had any illness of any kind, we would go down there. Like, we're going to stop at my mom's. I got to pick this up, or I'm going to drop this off, or whatever. So they said to me, if you don't move her in with us, we're never going to see you, because it was increasing. So, sometimes it's the best worst choice that you can make that you have to make. So that's what we did. And the things that I know now, if I would have known them back in 2015, things would have been a little different for me. Starting with boundaries, where we always start, right? Where we always start with caregiving is support and boundaries. And it really would have been much better for me and for my kids and for my husband if I knew all of that and had the resources that I have now then. So yes, support and boundaries are my two big ones, Zach, always.
Wow. So, Rosanne, if you knew then what you know now, would you have reached out to your employer and tried to get the support you needed?
With me, it would be tough because in real estate, if you're not selling, you're not making. So the only person that was being affected was me. I didn't have a team around me. It's not like I was working on a project with other people. If I was still working in an office, if we can transport back even further, when I was working in an office, I honestly don't know how to bring that up to say, I need more support. But I think the more support would be flexible hours and more leeway in, I need to take a lunch, or I need to take a longer lunch, or I need something, or I need to leave early. So those types of things to support that process, I think is what would be extremely helpful to caregivers that are working, and to have a safe space to know that if I said this to my boss, they're not going to hold it against me, because that's what we hear a lot of too.
So can we talk about the Daughterhood for a minute? What it is, why it was created?
Sure. So Ann Tumlinson has worked in the policy field for years, 30 years now. And when she was working in that, she saw that caregivers didn't get the support that they needed through any branch in healthcare. And, she would always say, you had your childhood friends, you had your motherhood friends, but you never had your daughterhood friends. You never had people that you could talk to about, I can't get the keys away from my dad, or my mom's not eating, or whatever. So she created Daughterhood with that in mind, to be able to provide this place so that caregivers could come together and learn from each other and empower each other. So she started this in 2015, and it started at a local level in person. And then when the pandemic hit, we switched to virtual. So now all of our circles are online. They're all free. They're virtual. However you want to interact with us is how you interact. If you don't want to put your camera on, you don't have to put your camera on. If you want to just talk in the chat, that's fine. If you want to come and just listen, that's fine. So we have two types of circles, which are connection circles, where caregivers can meet with each other. And we have topic circles, which are exactly what they sound like. It's a different topic. So whether it's managing sibling dynamic, or if it's grief, or how to pick a senior living options. We even have an after caregiving circle, because as much as caregivers aren't thought of when they're caring, they're thought even less of when they're done caring. So all of the, we have 15 to 18 circles a month that you can choose from. And again, like I said, they're all free. You just register and pop in. They're drop-ins. If you register and you can't make it, you can't make it. You're a caregiver. We get it. So that's how everything came to be. We're celebrating our 10th year anniversary this year, which is very exciting. It's been 10 years. So it's a lot of caregivers.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you just explain what you mean by circles?
Yeah. So instead of support group, the term support group turns people off. And circles are just, they're friendlier. They're just, it's more complete. You're in a complete circle and it's softer. It's just, it's a way, it's more of a back and forth than a, we're going to talk to you. It's more of a connection. And that's where circles, that's where the circle part comes in.
Are the topic circles recorded in case somebody misses it? We're
very aware of people's anonymity. If they don't want to be, it's very hard to come into some place and say, my mother's driving me crazy. I can't wait till she dies. Oh. It's very hard to say that to somebody if you're not a caregiver. And caregivers will hear that and be like, I get it. I hear you. So we do not record to keep everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
We do have some special topic circles that we do, and we have posted on our YouTube channel. I did a question and answer with Barbara Carnes about hospice, because everybody has a question about hospice. We've done one on preventing dementia. We've done one on boundaries. So there are some that we do record and put up there. Our guide circle topic was up there. So it just depends, but not typically, no.
Listeners, we'll put all the links in. So I know many of you are exercising right now or walking. So we'll put all the links on how to register. And we highly, highly recommend that you check out Daughterhood, even if you're a male, by the way, son, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Listen, we know that primarily women are there's more women that care for people than men. However, if you're a man, we welcome you. We welcome you. Yes.
So Rosanne, how did you go from after 12 years of caring for your mom to working in the care space? How did you make that transition?
So I found Daughterhood in 2015 when I moved my mom in. And I was up at 2 a.m. out of my head trying to figure out how I was going to do this. And I found Anne's blog and I read it and I thought, wow, has she been here? Is she here? Is she looking over my shoulder?
Spying on you, right?
Wow, what is this? Yeah. So, and
That's
I kept,
true.
right? I kept going back to it. I would go back to it because I felt seen. I felt seen and I felt validated. And I felt like, oh my goodness, she gets this. She gets it. I'm not crazy. This isn't something that I'm imagining. This is really how I feel. Because again, I was the first of my friends that had gone through this. And so I couldn't talk to anybody like, can you believe this? Like, is this? So I found the circles, but I couldn't do anything because when I first moved my mom in, it was like caregiving. My brother would come if I needed to go to my daughter's whatever, and my sister and that kind of stuff. And I swore the minute I could get a caregiver, I was going to start a group. And that's what I did. So in 2018, I at the end of 2018, I hired somebody, and January of 2019, I started a local Daughterhood circle. And that's how I came into Daughterhood. And then we would have these circles and women would come and we'd all be talking. And I kept thinking, boy, why isn't anybody talking about this? And I would try to find more information. And I was like, but it's not, there was practical things, transferring and how to deal, with Medicare and Medicaid and medications and all of that stuff. But nobody was talking about the feelings of this and how hard that is. And I thought, what if we did a podcast? So I asked Anne if we could do a podcast. And I started the podcast in November of 2019 because I wanted to ask people the questions as a caregiver. As a caregiver with her mother in the other room, I wanted to ask these questions. And I wanted to ask the follow-up of, wow, that's a great idea. However, when that doesn't work, what do I do? So that's how that began. And I've been doing it since 2019. I've been a circle leader and the host of the podcast.
So it's safe to say that the caring for your mom influenced the work that you do now.
Absolutely. And it continues to influence the work because I adored my mother and I would have done and I did do anything I could for her. And I know not everybody feels that way about who they're caring for. And that it was still the hardest thing I have ever done in my entire life. And I wanted to be able to take this information that I learned and to be able to talk to people about this and say, hey, you over there, I know you're in the corner over there banging your head on the wall, but here's some information. I know that you feel hopeless. I know that you feel sad. I know that you are completely overwhelmed, but here's a little bit of information that can help you. And by the way, you're not alone and you can do this. And that's my goal with every episode.
I love that. It's kind of neat. You've received quite a bit of benefit from Daughterhood early in your caregiver journey, and then you're really giving back big time. I've listened to your shows, and we're going to post a few of them on here. But you're a great host, and I mean that in terms of exactly what you just said. You do you help people not feel alone as a listener.
Thanks.
I'm curious. Can you talk about maybe a couple of guests that you've had or topics that you've had that really moved you? Like shook you, because it's kind of hard to shake us up as caregivers once we've been on that rugged journey. But can you share a couple that really, really impacted you that I'd love to share with the audience?
Yeah. There's so many wonderful people. Their hearts are so kind and they're so compassionate. And I was fortunate to talk to Dr. Jessica Zitter about caregiver burden, and I had spoken to her. And then when my mother was on hospice, we did not have the best experience with hospice. Literally the day she died, I emailed Dr. Zitter at 3 a.m. and said, I don't know what's going on here. I'm not getting the support that I need. She called me and she actually got on the phone with the hospice organization. We had a 3-way call. She was amazing. And when my mom passed, I said to her, listen, would you mind if we did a show about what happens at the end of life? Because it was so disorienting to me. And She said, yeah, absolutely. And I did. I called it, it was a question and answer of what just happened at end of life. And it was something I never forgot. And I thought, I look back on it now and I think, my goodness, what kindness from her, number one, but what a great thing to be able to share with other people, because I knew if I felt like that, other people felt like that.
Yes.
And it's so horrible in that we're not prepared. Even if we're prepared, we're not prepared. And then you start doing all of this. And then whatever happens with hospice and whatever happens in those last days, you're all off balance. So Dr. Jessica Zitter, definitely. Barbara Carnes for hospice too. I mean, you can't if you want to know about hospice, you talk to Barbara Carnes. And I had her on as a guest and we did the special Q&A. For me, talking to Judy Cornish about dementia was a highlight for me. She wrote, because in 2015, I also found her book, Dementia with Dignity, or 2017, I found her book, Dementia with Dignity, which was just fantastic. And I've had her on a couple times. Alison Applebaum's, gosh, the name of her book escapes me right now. I can't even believe I just blanked. Stand By Me. Sorry, it's Stand By Me. Yeah. What a great book. What a great book. I finished that book and I thought, oh gosh, I wish there was more. She's another person, really, she understands it. And because she works with caregivers. When you work with caregivers every day, you understand that plight, that feeling, and the fact that it's really hard and everybody is doing the best that they can, but they don't think they're doing the best they can because they always feel like they're missing something. And it really informs how you deal with everybody and how you interact with people. Zach, I could list 15, PK Bevel, Lisa Gibbons, for God's sake. I mean, it just, and I'm fortunate that we do bonus episodes with Anne. So I also am on co-hosting with Anne, talking policy with policy people, which is, I mean, it's just, it's the next level for finding out why we're in these positions and how we got to these positions. So it's just great.
I'm a huge fan, Roseanne, and I'm always like taking notes, listening to your show. And if I'm not mistaken, the Selma and I have a newsletter. It comes out twice a month, and we highlight a podcast, we highlight a book, we highlight a video. And I know we've highlighted Daughterhood Podcast at least twice. I know for sure.
Wow, thank you.
But I think of the other resources that you talked about. If I'm not mistaken, the book that we highlighted this week was Leslie Kernison.
Oh yeah, sure.
And you guys talked about Dr. Kernison on there. When your aging parent needs help.
Yes,
I would never know about her or the book, and I look it up, and I certainly want to purchase it. But I want to share it with our audience and our readers. And what a great book.
Listen, she is great. She was one of my most downloaded episodes. It was When Your Aging Parent Needs Help. And it's her book as well. And she covers everything, absolutely everything. And she does it in such a way where it's the questions and the answers are so descriptive and helpful. And it's not, you know how sometimes when you read something, you're like, yeah, that's not going to work. It's like tried and true. It's just great. Yeah. Great information.
The reason why we're spending this much time talking about podcasts, Roseanne, is because working caregivers, which is our thrust, we advocate for working caregivers. You either don't have time to do the research or look for stuff, or you don't know where to go for research. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so being able to listen to maybe a single podcast with great resources is extremely valuable. Yes. Plus it comes from credible resources like yourself, and you're coming from learned experiences. Have you had an opportunity to work with working caregivers? Is there maybe something that from your experiences and conversations with them that you could share where maybe employers can maybe do more to help support working caregivers?
Yeah, well, we one of those policy podcasts, we actually spoke with Karen Cavanaugh, who was working at the Rosalind Carter Institute at that time. They have a few reports. There's one called Invisible Overtime Report, and they had a caregiving module there at the rosalindcarter.org. But what we talked about with her was about, establishing an employee caregiving interest group. So it's almost like you can get everybody together and like, these are our problems. This is what we're dealing with, and talk about that. Again, it all circles back to support, right? And to supporting each other. So that was a very, high on the list. The other thing was taking an inventory of what they do have. Sometimes employers have things that you're not sure of. And sometimes the insurance companies have things that you're not sure of that they can access by working at that company. So those were a couple of things: engaging the leadership, educating employees in Medicare and Medicaid coverage, those types of things, training managers about what to look for in your employees when they're caregiving. Because a lot of times, as we said, it's scary to say, yeah, I'm caring for my mom. Yeah, I'm caring for my dad. But if you can, can I help you? Is there something I can do to assist you? And is there somebody that I can point you in that direction? Do you know? Or even to train the managers about what it's like to be a caregiver, because people don't really understand it. And, I've had people say to me before, oh, you sat there with your mom. How hard is that? How hard is that? Really?
Wow.
My goodness.
How hard is that? Yeah, it's not hard at all. Look at my face. It's really easy. I look well rested, don't I? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So if they don't understand it, they can't appreciate the struggle. And that's with everything, right? But it's especially important with employers. So, and then, trying to identify where the gaps in the service is.
Yes.
So, we're providing this, but our employees aren't using this. Why? Why aren't they using it? Does it not work? What's missing? What's the missing piece? So those types of things could be very helpful.
So on the flip side of that, what can employers do? Like you said, your experience of the person saying to you, how hard is that? You sit with your mom. She's sick. You sit with her. That life goes on. So what could you have done, or what steps could you have taken to make yourself more visible, more supported at work?
We all work with people, right? I mean, it depends on your manager. There are people that are kind and they get it, and especially if they've ever been a caregiver, or if somebody that they loved was sick at one time, they have that appreciation. It's the understanding of your challenges. And if that's not there, it's very hard. And the fact that people don't want to say that this is what they do. I have a friend who doesn't tell her boss that she's caring for her mom, doesn't say it. And because it's fear. So we have to try to get past that fear. But these are real issues, because this is your job. Like, if you don't have your job, what's going to happen? So I understand it. It has to come from the employer. The change needs to come from the top, not from the bottom.
Yeah. So just going back, you mentioned earlier about dementia.
Yeah.
And we know from the research that dementia care is really different from any other type of caregiving. Can you just maybe share with us one experience that you faced as a dementia caregiver?
It's hard because you can't have those conversations. When you're caring for somebody with COPD or with a cancer, or you're still they're still involved in their own care. Mm-hmm. You don't have that as much with dementia. You kind of do, depending, but you really don't. And there are those times when you have to make the decisions. It's what makes the dementia caregiving so heavy. You're making decisions for somebody else, and you're hoping that you're making the right decision. If you haven't talked about it, and now you're in charge of these decisions, this is pretty heady stuff, which is why it's so important to make sure your wishes are known and how you want to live. Not do I want antibiotics and water at end of life? How do I want to live? And you have to have those conversations so everybody is on the same page. But it's really hard. For me, it was hard when I wasn't sure if my mother knew who I was. Yeah. But I always knew she could feel who I was, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So for me, it kind of made it better because I always brought myself to her. Whether she knew me or not, I was bringing me and my love for her to her. And that's what she felt. And that's the important thing in dementia caregiving, because you're bringing them your mood, and you need to be aware of that. it's hard because you're it. You're the one in charge.
Well, that's amazing.
I just want to do another plug for Daughterhood again. I can't help it, but again, it's kind of a one-stop shop for our working caregivers or for managers. Because Selma, you just reminded me when you spoke about dementia, I subscribe to Daughterhood. I encourage everybody listening to do so. And I received an email not too long ago announcing a great benefit that Daughterhood was embracing about dementia caregivers. Do you recall that? Can you share a little bit about what that's all about? And why are you sharing that? Why are you guys doing that?
So Medicare started this new program called the Guide Program. And through Medicare, first of all, Medicare doesn't pay for long-term care, okay? They don't pay for supports. This is a one-of-a-kind program where they provide dementia caregivers with education, resources, and a respite benefit, okay? So this is game-changing for dementia caregivers. We have partnered with Pocket RN. It's an organization that basically it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a nurse in your pocket, Pocket RN, and they have become a certified Medicare provider. So they are nationwide. So there's about 400 Medicare providers across the country that can deliver the Guide program, and Pocket RN is one of them. So if you are a dementia caregiver, you call Pocket RN, you say my care partner, my mother, my father, whoever, my neighbor that I'm caring for has dementia, and how do we access this Guide program? They walk you through it, they see if you qualify for it, and then you're in. And then you have the ability at 2 a.m, which is very helpful, to call them because then that's your nurse, right? And say, listen, mom's up. I don't know what's happening. She's pacing, or she has a fever, or whatever. But you have somebody there for you to support you in those moments.
Wonderful.
Game changing. I was one of those people that called an 800 number at 2 a.m. And, when you're trying to explain what's happening, you're trying to explain your person to this person on the other line that you have never met before, that has no idea who you are or who your person is. And they're trying to triage, and then they connect you to the next person and you do it all over again. It's not very helpful. This would be a completely different thing because they know you and they know your person.
You don't need to tell us why Daughterhood's embracing that. We get it just from what you just described. That is hats
That's
off
amazing.
to you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wish I had that with my mom.
Same.
That would have been game changing for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
So this has been wonderful. I mean, Rosanne, you are just a wealth of information. And
thank you so much.
Your journey is just so amazing. And thank you for sharing it with all of us.
Absolutely.
But before you leave, could you tell our audience how they could find you, your work, your website, your link, your book?
Absolutely.
Everything?
It's daughterhood.org. Very easy. The podcast lives there. Anne's blogs are there. Our circle calendar is there. It's updated all the time. You can sign up for our newsletter so that you can get updates. Sometimes we add circles, or, we try to keep it up to date with what we're hearing. So what are you struggling with? Let's do a circle for that, alongside our regular connection circles. But everything, again, is free. It's easy to register, just a click. We're on Zoom, easy peasy, and everything's there. You can find everything there. Yep.
Awesome.
That's great.
Awesome.
Oh, and we, of course, Facebook and Instagram at Daughterhood and Daughterhood the Podcast.
Well, shout out to Ann Tummelson for the work that she has done creating this and allowing you to do a podcast. Shout out to her for doing that too. She's no dummy. And I'm with Selma. We could talk to you all day, but we're just going to have to circle back to you at some point.
There you go.
Like
yes, indeed.
And thank you so much for your monthly podcast.
You are very welcome.
Inside joke there. That was an inside joke. Thank you so much, Rosanne. We really appreciate you.
You guys are great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to catch new episodes of Working Caregivers, the Invisible Employees Podcast, every other Tuesday. Please also visit our website, invisibleemployeeadvocates.com, to subscribe to our newsletter, purchase our book, and learn more about how we can help you strengthen your workplace to become more supportive of working caregivers.